Hello students, this is Varun Kumar, and in this video we'll talk about users, groups and file permissions in Linux, which is part 1 of our future video, how we can host multiple websites on a single server. In this video we'll cover the basic things, the basic permissions that you need to know in Linux. Let's continue. So if you are coming from Windows world, you may find it very much confusing in the starting, but if you try it yourself, you'll find it the most natural thing in the world. So our agenda today is these commands. We will cover these commands, which is useradd, groupadd, mod, usermod, passwd, userdelete, passwd, group, shadow, file permissions table, and I think we have missed something, so I'm writing some more commands here. One more command we'll cover is chmod and chown. These are also required for move further. So I'm repeating again, we'll cover only file permissions and groups in this video, and in our future video we'll cover the Nginx and PHP polling. So but this video is very important if you want to continue further in our next video. This video is very important. Please listen and concentrate on each and everything very carefully, because if you skip anything you will be get very much confused, because these things are very much confusing. If you are from Windows world, Linux people will love it, because this is the basic thing, and these are the things which make the Linux most secure platform. So let's move further in the AWS management console, which is my most favorite cloud service provider. So we will start on machine very quick. We are not explaining these points, because these points we have explained lots of times in our previous videos. So I am just quickly starting Linux instance for this session. So next storage, so 10 name, users and groups, configure, I think SSH. Okay, this is all okay. So launch, I'll create a new key pair, users, groups, download it, launch instance. So I am in hate with this, which always changes its name. So first we have to rename it. So this is pem.txt. I am renaming it, so we can now connect it. So let's go to our instance we have started. Users and groups, so it's running. Let's open terminal, iTerm, which is my favorite terminal on Mac. Let's copy SSH hi. So this is our identity file. So EC2 user at the IP address, but this won't let me connect because this file is too open and we have downloaded it right now. So we have to use chmod 400 and the file. Yeah, that's why I have added the file in the last, added these commands in the last, because these are the most useful commands but we'll cover this later, why we are using this command. So let's connect again. Now it will let us connect. So welcome to the EC2 Amazon Linux AMI. This is my most favorite Linux distribution, and this is so much lightweight, and this requires very much less RAM, so it charges very low. So let's start with our today's commands. The first command to cover today is useradd. So let's make it smaller and make it bigger. So the first command is useradd. Useradd is used to add new user to our Linux. Let's say we want to add a new user which name user1. So this is added. So permission denied because we haven't used it, or we haven't logged in as your root user. We have to use sudo in useradd user1. So user1 is created, and if we want to see where this user has been created, we have to open the file in etc cd etc. No, we can directly sudo vi /etc passwd. This is the password file. Yeah, you can see here I have written etc passwd password. We can find our new created user at the end of the file. Yeah, here it is. So this is user1 has been created. So this is the EC2 user which is right now I am to log into this Amazon machine. And here you can find out other users also by using, if yes we want to use mouse scroll, yes. So now we can use the scrolling mouse. No, I don't think so it let us do so. No, still not let us do so. So this is this file contains all the other user informations like root user with 00, and one more pattern you can find out that the human users start with the series 500. Yeah, now, and this is allocated user ID 501. This is the user ID. This is the user ID, and we can see that this is the username, and this is also username. This is the password user ID. This one is the group ID. You can we will cover this later, what is group and what is group ID. And this one is the user information, or we can say that user comment. We haven't added any comment, so there is no comment in our user1. And this one is the home directory of user1, and this one is the default shell. So the home directory for EC2 user is home/EC2 user, and the default shell is bin. So we can open new terminal here we can open new terminal here with SSH, the same command, and the file I think EC2 user. And if we have everything in clipboard, no, we don't have in clipboard, so we have to copy from here. So copied. This one is we are now connected again. So present working directory is home EC2. So we are logged in here. So by default we go into this folder, and if we log in as this user, we will directly go into home cd dot. So if we find ll, so we will be going into user1. So there are only two users, EC2 user and user1, so there are only two folders. So pretty much clear, right? We can close this now. One more interesting thing I want to show you is if we want to change password of this user, we can use passwd command. We can use it like this, passwd, and then username, it's user1, only root user. So we can add sudo password user1. So we have to use the command that is use root user. So changing password for user1, let's set a password for this. Password do not match, I think. Yeah, now we have set the password for the user. So let's see the etc file. Yeah, the home directory is home/user1. So if we want to switch user, we have to use su and then name of the user, so user1. The password, we have set the password for the user. So now if we check present working directory, so it will be user1, but when we logged in as EC2 user, it was EC2 user. So now you can see that this is the default home directory for the user. This one is the user ID and this one is the group ID. So I'll show you what are groups. So quitting on the vim, and now let's create new group, which is sudo groupadd group1. So we are naming very easy, so this will help you learn very quick. So we have added group1, and if you want to see the groups, we can open file sudo vi etc group. Yeah, here are the groups. The first group is root, and the last group is group1. By default, Linux creates a default group for new user. If you don't specify anything, it creates a group for the username, same username. So, and EC2 user also created, and same pattern. The group ID starts with 500, and the next group ID is 501, and this is the 502. And if in the other terminal, I can show you sudo vi /etc/password. Sorry, vi user lecture from local system. So, no sudo password. So we have to first log out as user1, because this is not administrator or not a sudoer. This user1 is not a sudoer, so we have to exit first. Now we are logged in as EC2 user. Sudo vi /password. So going at the end of the file, we can see that this is 501. So this is 501. This was the group ID, this was the group ID, and this is the user ID, and this is the username. Yeah, as I explained. So let's go back and let's try that if we can add user1 to this group. So we don't quit here. We have to quit this file. So we will change the group from here. And we will use the command usermod for this. So let's see how we can do this. We will be using sudo usermod and the extension G. So before modifying it, before using it, I'll show you manual of this command usermod. So this is used to modify a user. There are lots of options, but in our case we only require the G option, which is to change group of the user. So there are lots of things we can change. The comment of the user, which we haven't added, this one, the default comment, so we can use it with the help of C. And if we want to use the group, we can use we can use this with the help of G. And if you want to mark it as inactive, we can make it as inactive, or there are lots of things we can do. And other commands will be, other extensions will be helped after we use this and after seeing the shadow file. Yeah, other commands I can explain with the shadow file. So we will be only now explaining the G, and after watching the shadow file, I'll explain you other things. So let's focus on the G. So we have exited. Let's not sudo vi user mod user modify G, and now we will name the name of the group, it's group1, and the name of the user, it's user1. I think it will ask for the sudo. Yeah, permission denied. So let's make a sudo. So yeah, whenever now I am editing the file again, yeah, now you can see that it's changed to 502, which is the group ID of group 1. And again, if we want to change it to user1, so we will be editing it again. So now it's 501, and let's try if we can change it to EC2 user. EC2 user. Yeah, group is changed, group has been changed. Edit. So now it's 500. Let's make it user1 again. So now it's 501. Please watch this very carefully because these are very basic, and I have found out very basic commands you will be requiring to host multiple websites on a single server. So if you want to do that, you must be proficient in these commands. So these are very basic, you know. Please try this by yourself. These are very basic. So let's go to groupmod. I have just added this command, but I don't think it will be useful because one use I found only is to modify the group name. So let's firstly see the manual of the file and manual of the command groupmod. Yeah, we can change the GID, we can help the name of the group. So this is the thing I found it very useful, but that's it. But we are not trying it. So let's see the password. I have explained this before using when we change the password of the user1 and try to log in. So we have covered it. So user delete is used to delete a user. We can delete a user by helping sudo user delete user1. So now the user has been deleted. If we find the edit, the user has been deleted. Wow, it's very nice. So let's see the shadow file. So once again, I have to create a new user. Sudo useradd user. Yeah, one more thing I want to show you. If you want to directly add to the group at the time of creating a user, we can use the G option, and we have to type -G and then the group name, which is group1, then user1. So we have created a new user and adding it to default, adding it to the group1 at the time of creation. So now no copying from file. A user at the home directory already exists, so we have to manually delete rm sudo rm r home / user1. Let's create user2. I want to show you one more thing. Let's create user2, but we are not deleting and spending time. I got one more thing in my mind. So let's create user2. So user2 has been created, and if you want to see this file, yeah, this is the user2, and the user1 is also created. So user1 was also created and the same directory was used. So user2 is created, and I want to show you one magical thing. We can see here sudo vi at c /group. So if you look here, now they haven't created user1 or user2 as a group, because we have already explained the group for new users, and they have used the 502 as group ID. So that's pretty much awesome thing. So that I wanted to show you. So quitting this file, we go back. So let's set password. So before setting password, let's open this file, shadow file, which stores passwords for all the users. So let's write here 1 2 3 4 password for all users, and this contains group informations, and this will contain user informations, and this is information. Yeah, so group information and user information. Let's see the password for all users, sudo vi /etc. Please remember, we haven't set any password for user2 and also user1. So /shadow and going at the bottom. So here the user1 and user2, and the exclamation marks show that we haven't set any password and the user is logged. We cannot log in as this user because the password hasn't been set for this user. This is exceptional case because the key file, the identity file, sets us login. So but there is no password in terms of paraphrase, so there is also an exclamation marks. The users where there are star, they can't be logged in, they can be used for login because these are disabled by the file system. So let's set password for user2 from here. Let's switch our terminals for watching and doing things. So let's set password, sudo password user2. So changing password for user2. Yes, now we have set the password, and if we do the edit again, now we can see that there is a hash. This is the password hash. So if we make it bigger, we can see that this is the password hash which goes up to here. One more interesting thing I want to explain is this format. Let's look onto this format. So this format is in the format of ID, then there is a $sign. Yeah, this is the ID, this is $ID, and I think the next one is, yeah, next one is salt. Yeah, again we have salt from this $sign to this $sign here, and this one is the hashed password until here. So there is a salt ID. Let's make spaces for easy understanding. Salt and hashed password. And further, this ID resembles some other interesting things, like if there is a written 1, when ID is 1, it means the password is hashed via MD5, and if ID is 2, then the password is hashed via blowfish. And if ID is I think there is no 3, it's 5 and 6 only. And if ID is 5, it is hashed via secure hash algorithm, 256 bits. And ID of 6, which is right now it's 6, yeah, this digit is 6, so this means this password is hashed via 512 bits of secure hash algorithm. Yeah, this is the format of the hashing of the user password. So this is the password, and yeah, this one is the username, this one is the password. I just skip these things, so let's cover this also. The next is last password changed. This shows the last password change, number of days when last password changed. And this one is minimum number of days required between password changes. For example, once you set a password, how many days you were required to change password again. So this one is the number of days you want to change password between the password changes. And the next one is maximum number of days the password is valid. So at the end we can see that the username, then there was password, then the number of days of between last password change, when was the last password change, and this is the minimum number of days required between password changes, and this is the number of days password is valid, and this is warning days. This will give 7 days earlier from this that this password is going to expire. And then there, if we have flagged the account as active, or if the account is expired, so these are the flags for making the account inactive or the expired account. Let's open the terminal, new terminal again, and just make a sudo vi, not sudo vi. Let's see the manual of userdel. Usermod. So if we want to expire a user, so this will show the flag here between these two columns. And if we mark the account as inactive, so this will be use a flag here. So we are not covering this because this is very deep, and we will be only using the very basic command so that you can apply in the next video, which is about PHP and Nginx pooling for multiple websites on single server. So let's continue. That's all for the users and groups. So quit. So let's see what we have left now. The most I am closing this because this was interesting, so I showed you, but this is not part of the agenda today. So we will be covering file permissions. So please listen to this very, very carefully, because this is the base for our next video. Let's go to ls. So we are in home EC2 user. Let's make a new file, mk. Let's make a new directory, mkdir, new folder, and touch new file, So whenever we are using ls, we are seeing only these things, or this will only show us the files and folders. But when we use ll, if you don't know what is ls or ll, you can watch my previous video in which I have explained every basic and primitive command you will be required to use in Linux. So I have explained mkdir, touch, ls, ll in very deep. So if you want to watch that video, please watch that video on my YouTube channel, and subscribe to this channel for continue watching. So we'll continue. So this one we have created two files, one folder and a file. One is the new folder and other one is new file. So after using ll, it will show us a file information and very deeply show file information. So more information about file we can say in easy terms. So the new file, this is the user of the file, means which user created this file or which user the file belongs to, and this one is the group of the file. So now the new file belongs to EC2 user and new folder belongs to EC2 user. Both are the files. And this thing I'll cover later. We have the table for this for easy understanding, but right now I am explaining only this thing. So please listen carefully. So we were EC2 user. So when we create a new folder or new file, it used EC2 user as owner and EC2 user as group. So let's log in as user1. I think we haven't set password for user1. Let's log in as user2. Switch user2, the password for user2. Now we are user2. So when we create mkdir user2 folder and mkdir user2 file, after making a ll, so now we can see that we are in pwd, we are in home user2. By default we go to here, and before we were in home EC2. So now we can say that the default user was user2, the username for user2 was user2, and group was group1. So that's why it used default user as a file owner and default group for the file group. So this one is user2 and user1. So these are the two commands which help us in changing the user, in the changing the changing the ownership of the file. This one is used to change ownership, this one is used to change modify file permissions, which we will cover later. So and these both are the directories, and this one is the file, these both are directories. So let's change the ownership of this directory to EC2 user. Let's see how we can do that. For this there is command change ownership, chown, but sudo is required for this. So let's sudo chown user2 file, but this is a folder we know, and we have to name EC2 user before this, and the group we want to add. So we want to use group EC2 user. So now the owner and group of this file will be EC2 user and EC2 user again. So let's see. So again we have stuck in that system that user2 is not a sudo. So let's add 3 wrong passwords, so that we can exit and again go to this this directory where we are as a logged in as EC2 user, who is a sudoer. So let's sudo chmod newFile, and we will change the ownership to user2, and the group is group1. Let's do the reverse that we were trying to. So now invalid user2 and group1, sudo chmod, so not mod, chown. So now we can see that the owner of the file is user2 and group of the file is user1. This is the very basic thing if you want to set up your own web server. So lots of my students fail at this thing. If you know this thing, that what is the chown, who is this user and who is this group, and if you watch this video very carefully, you will know this very easily, and you will find out that this is the most natural thing in the world. So this is very easy. So user2 and group1, user2 is a user of the file and group1 is the group of the file. Let's do the same to new folder, and we will be using user1 this time. Sudo chown user1 group1 and new folder. So now this is user1 and group1. One more thing I want to show you is whenever we cd into new folder, if there is some files and if one more magic I want to show you before is, whenever we use sudo touch, before we only used touch command like this while creating a file, we only use touch, so it's used EC2 user at the group user and group owner. But now I am using sudo touch, so sudo touch some file. Let's see the magic now. It's use the root user as group and group owner. Let's go outside, and I'll show you some more tricks for using the chown command. Firstly, I'll make it smaller so that we can see this every time. So now there is one case arise that there is new folder and there is also one more file inside the folder. So let's change the ownership of new folder. So revert it back to EC2 user, and remember the file inside new folder is owned by root and the group is also root. So EC2 user and EC2 user, and let's go inside cd new folder, and it's again root. So let's go back cd dot and whenever there is option that is -r, capital R, whenever we use this option, the new folder and the files containing inside it, and if there is other folders inside it, all the files and folders inside this folder will be owned by EC2 user and the group will be EC2 user. So this is the recursive extension. This is the most common extension, recursive, which is used with some other commands. So R you can use commonly as recursive extension. So this option will help you use the file for folder or on the folders recursively. So let's press enter and make a list of files. So let's cd into new folder, and now you can find that the some file inside the new folder is also owned by EC2 user, which was owned by root before. So this is the magic of capital R. So this is all the thing. One more thing I want to show you is the file permissions. This is the file permission table. These things I explained you before is the file owner and the file group, but these two users are also the user owner of the file and the file which group belongs to. For example, we had made group1 as the group of the file. So let's see which users belongs to group1. Let's see it again. I remember user1 and user2 both are the both are the users of group1. So I'll show you again. Sudo vi /etc/group. So the group ID is 502 for the group1. So group1, the ID is 502, and let's get it get out. Let's get out from the file and let's use password. Let's see password, and now we can see that 502. User1 and user2 both belongs to the group1. So whenever there is owner of the there is a file owner and there is group to which file this file belongs to, so we can also restrict operations on these users. There is provision for this, which we can use this table. So there are three primitive things we can do on a file. Three primitive operations. One is the read. We can read the file, we can write to a file, or we can execute a file. So let's see how we can use this. So there is this thing will explain that what we can do to this file. These flags help us understand that what the owner of the file can do, what the other group user can do on this file. And also there are third type of person which are other than both these. Just listen carefully. One is the owner of the file. Let's take a look here. One which is the owner of the file, which is user1. I'll explain it here. So for this scenario, if we take a look for this scenario, newFile belongs to user1 and the group users are user1 and user2 because belongs to user2, and the group users are user1 and user2. So one type of users are file owners, which are newFile belongs to. Let's write it here like we have written here. In this case, not in this case, I know right now it belongs to EC2 user, but in this case the user2 is owner of the new file, and second is the file group owners. Which are group owners, or we can say group users, are user1 and user2 because user1 and user2 both belongs to group1, and there are third type of file users which are other users. and in this case EC2 user is other user, because this is the user which don't belongs to any one of the two categories. So I think now you can understand this. And there are further some implementations on these. There are some restrictions we can use. We can mark the flags on the file owners. We can change what file owners can do with the help of chmod command. And these first three flags resemble what a file owner can do. So file owner can read and write only. In this case the file owner can read and write to the file, and group owners can read and write to the file, and other owners can only read. And in this case where is the name of the file is some file owners can read and write, group owners can read, and other users can only read, right? So this is the case. And in this case, if we take this case, so here the D first of all, let's take the look at, there is additional flag which is D, which tell us that this is a directory, this is not a file. And here the file owner, three flags tell us the file owner can read, write, and execute. So he can do all the three operations: read, write, and execute. And the group owner can also read, write, and execute, but other users can only read and execute. So let's see how we can change these flags. So there are octal values. The most easy way we can change these flags is I found it very easy. There are other ways also, but I found this way very easy. So there are octal values. For example, in this file, if we want to make the file executable by the owner, we have to use the 7 flag for the file owner. And if we want to make only readable for other group users and other users, we have to use only writable, which is 4. So we have to use, right now it's 644, which is 6 here. So right now it's 6, 4 and 4 if we look into the table. So right now it's 6, 4, 4, but we will make it 7, 4 and 4. So let's see how we can do that. So there is a command chmod. So if you remember, we in the starting of the video we used chmod 400 to make the downloaded file usergroups.pem to make it more secure, because it was not letting us log in. So we use 400 and we made only readable by the file owner, and other users cannot do anything to that. So that's why we were able to log in. So this is the security of Amazon Linux ME. So let's start changing the file permissions using chmod. So how we can do that? We can use sudo chmod 744 then file name some file. So if we make ll, so now the file owner can read, write, and execute, but other users cannot. So if we want to make all of them read, write, and execute, we must use 7, 7 and 7. So now all users can read, write, execute, read, write, execute, and read, write, and execute. But in the case of web files, I think this is the very open file permissions. We don't use it. We always use 644 for files and 755 for folders and directories. So cd dot dot, let's go back. So for new folder, I think the permission is 7, 7 and 5. So there is 7, 7 and 5, but in case of web folders, we only use 755. So let's change it. Sudo chmod 755 new folder. So now it's 755. We can see that it's 755 for this one. So but we can see that if we go into new folder, we can see that the file permissions inside this never change. So we can also use the R command, chmod-r, to change the file as well as change the file for folder permissions as well as files containing it recursively, like we done before in chmod. So cd new folder, we can see that this is also now 755. So this thing is pretty cool. So if you want to become a good system admin, you must be a master of these things. So these are the very basic and primitive. And if you are new to the Linux world, you have found lots of things like permission denied, permission denied, permission denied whenever you are using or trying new things, or if you want to trying to install some packages or downloading files from internet, whatever you are doing. So there will be lots of problems with file permissions. These are the first obstacles you have to tackle in Linux. If you are having your own VPS or own cloud services in shared hosting or cPanels, you don't see these problems, but whenever you use EC2 or AWS, you may have to face these problems. But these are very, very good to understand, very easy to learn, and these are very helpful. So students, that's all for today. And I know today's session was very, very technical and very confusing, because there were very less commands which were revolving around one of each other again and again, and these were very confusing. But if you learn this very, very carefully, you will be finding that you have found gold of Linux system, because this is base of everything. So in the next video we will show you how you can host multiple sites on single VPS via Nginx and PHP pooling and chroot jailing. So this is the base for that next video. So if you want to be master of that, please get all the things in your bag very, very clearly. So that's all for today. If you like this video, please like it and share this video among your system Linux friends, and follow our channel if you want to get these videos in future. And thanks for watching. Best of luck.